Matt has cut himself. No. Matt has cut himself in, being like, "Hey, this is future Matt / Rhuminus here. There's a lot of things that we're not including in this episode. There's gonna be some random jump cuts. That's normal because we are not letting some of the things. We have bad opinion. I don't remember what you said exactly, but you were like, we have bad opinions, and we're not including them.
I really would like to make a disclaimer for the show where it's like, we're not professional anythings. We're just three people who may or may not have good or bad or neutral takes.
We have three stooges with a microphone.
Don't take anything we say with anything more than a grain of salt, because all of it is just slice of our lives.
Side note, if you're the kind of person that needs to believe in true altruism, yourself. Like, it's don't kill yourself. Never kill yourself. What the fuck? Flutes everywhere. Oh my god! But
the amount of flute that's going on right now.
Yeah, if it's burning down,
don't tempt
the past
me.
8 minutes have been nothing but flutes.
All right, so we can just agree that that's not making it. That's fine. We'll circle back around.
Altruism. Let's go back to that.
Talking about how.
Look, all I'm saying is that burning is the closest you could get to perfect altruism, because nobody benefits from it.
Hey, yo, DJ Matt here, back with some nice flutes. Hello, everybody. Just a quick warning. This episode will go over suicide, war, 9/11, and more grotesque actions during World War II. We don't go into too great detail, but they may be triggering or just grotesque and things you don't want to hear. The edited version is a little bit better. However, the unedited version, if you're part of the Discord, will have the more graphic parts to it, just as a warning. Welcome to All Topics No Pizza, where we start with a single idea that add new ideas until we lose our track, and Nick orders a pizza but doesn't invite any of us. I am Matt, also known as Rhuminus.
I'm just Deion.
Hey, it's your boy Nick, back from the Big Apple. And let me tell you, I learned a lot about myself when I went to the motherland. It was a beautiful visit. I got on the trains, I got off the trains, I got back on the trains because I realized I got off at the wrong stop. I got threatened on the trains, I threatened someone on the trains. The accent
is slowly just fading away.
Well, don't you know, that's the part of New York, is eventually everyone's accent sounds very similar until you get to Chinatown and Little Italy, where the Italian accents get really hyper.
The flute is coming in. The flute is getting ready to go.
No, this is what I'm saying. If you go to Chinatown and Little Italy, because they're right next to each other, the Italians get really hyperbolized accents, and Chinatown is Chinatown. I mean, what do you want to do? Actually, interestingly enough, this is a good segue. So one of the places, the accent's gone. The bit's done. Fuck the bit. Abort.
Despite how horribly offensive that was probably the best.
What do you mean? It's an Italian accent. I'm white. They're white. I'm allowed to make the Italian accent.
Despite how horrible,
that was not Italian in any means. I'm not even sure if that was very.
No, it's New York. It's the New York.
Despite how horrible
New York.
that bit was.
Yeah, but it was very fake. It was.
Of course, it was fake. That's the point.
It was the exaggerated. No, I know what you were doing.
Despite how bad that was probably the funniest bit you've done so far.
I don't know. I kind of enjoyed the naming places you've never heard. I like
McGurkin or whatever he said. Yeah.
So I have this bit with my partner where we go grocery shopping and there's too much. We have like half finished stuff in the fridge and then we have all this new stuff.
Hey.
And I sit there and I'm like, I got it. And I'll like rearrange all the stuff in a nice, like, presentable way. Everything fits in the fridge and everything that's old is in the front, everything that's new is in the back. And I'm like, hey, they call me Tetris Tony, okay? And I'll do this whole like bad accent
Hey,
bit.
and you do the hand
I
movements.
do the hand movement, and I'm like, they call me Tetris Tony. I'm the best. And so she'll be like, okay, whatever you say, Tommy Tetris. And I'll be like, Tommy Tetris is a fraud and a poser, and he never.
Tommy Tetris is a fucking bitch.
And it's just like, it's an awful accent, and it's an awful bit, but it's the funniest thing.
I miss vehemently when scam calls, because I get them all the time, but they had actual real people on them, because I would mess with them all the time, because I pick it up, and I'm like, hey, yo, Ma, you expecting this call? Ma, good? Ma, he's asking for a credit card. You got a credit card? And then I would read a number. and I would read a number. They get all excited, like, hold on, this is for the movie theater. No, that's ain't the credit card. Ma, I said the credit card. And then eventually they would get mad at me and hang up. It'd be great.
Oh boy. Nah. I heard Tetris Tony and Quick Hubert down in the docks. They was making some weird deals the other night. You know, I don't like to spread rumors, but I hear they were buying some fake schmear. Anyway.
But the funniest thing about that accent is it's the same fucking accent for every 2-bit schmuck like Joe.
That's never actually talked to a New Yorker, because New Yorkers don't sound like that. New Yorkers sound like just about everything.
Every henchman in every show ever, same New York accent. It's great.
So I went to the 9/11 Tribute Museum, which is
good segue.
run and so this was the segue that came from the Chinatown thing. So the docent at the 9/11 Tribute Memorial that I went to is a Chinese American who was literally headed to a hospital not far from the centers when the centers fell. And like I got to hear his story, and you know, he talked about the fact that he is a thing called a triple, which means he's a survivor, he had family involved, and he was a rescue worker at the time. And, you know, this is very heartbreaking, conversation where, you know, he explains that he has cancer that's riddling his body. He had to give up medicine as a result. Like, there are a lot of different harsh things. But it was the weirdest thing, which I know sounds weird. The weirdest thing I took away from it was the importance of landlines. Because if he hadn't been able to find a landline in Chinatown after the towers fell, his family would have thought he was dead for days. First of all, to anyone who goes to New York and needs a humbling moment, especially as an American with like an oversized nationalism ego, please go to that museum and look at the paper cranes and the 14 cows from Kenya. Those are two of the most important things. So the paper crane was folded by a little girl who survived the fallout from from Hiroshima and ended up getting leukemia because of it. Her brother, in 2002, right after the 9/11 happened, delivered her paper crane to America as a show of solace. And I'm like, first of all, who the fuck said we deserved this? After
the brother, obviously.
Right, but
weren't you listening to your own story?
After what we did, like that crane represents twofold something to be humbled by. And I was literally like tearing up just looking at the crane because it was just fucking impossible.
Well, when was the last time that mainland America has been attacked in a war?
And that
any
was,
sort of attack, actual.
That was something my dad said. He's like, with any luck, this is the closest that most children will ever have to be to war in their own home. And he specialized like
that sentiment. I know that I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry. Americans are. This is the worst take I think that I have. And it's that North Americans in the U.S. are too comfortable with the idea of war without any idea what it's like on home soil. Mm-hmm. With any luck, this is the closest that our children... What he meant was our children will come to...
No. He meant any children. Because
I hate to tell... Because the truth is that literally most children know what war is like on their home soil.
And that's his problem, is he has never experienced war like they have.
So
he has never seen it.
History classes, I guess.
Well, no, he just never went to war. Remember, this is the same father that...
I know he never went to war, but I never went to war. I've read books.
Books don't give you an accurate depiction of war.
No, they don't.
I played the war card game.
History museums, but you get the idea that this is the last thing that you would ever want. Did he not read Anne Frank at all? Like, he's old enough to have.
Side note: I had an English teacher who got our class 1/3 of the way through Anne Frank and said, "This is too boring for you guys to read." And I'm like, "Wow." I mean, I agree. It is a very boring book.
I mean, it's a diary. It's not meant to be engaging.
And I hate to tell you, I'm not going to read something I find boring, whether it's whether it's historical or not.
I'd
much rather listen to an audio podcast about it.
I got super hyper triggered. I just hyperventilated for 10 seconds.
As the Asian guy, as the docent put it, sorry, I'm trying to be more respectful because typically I am very just straight with my words. I'm just Asian guy, black guy, white guy, Deion, Matt, Nick. Fuckface.
Well, Deion, Matt, or mix up their names, or
exactly. I don't. Did you mean me? I'm trying to be less stream of consciousness because this one is very like serious. This is one I don't feel okay joking about. Just like I don't feel there's something wrong with joking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I'm sure at some point there will be a joke made about both of these things in another episode. It'll be up to Matt whether or not to censor me, which is perfectly fine. That's understandable. But when you're discussing the severity of that day, the only thing truly that I think Americans can fully compare it to is what we did to Japan, which is why that crane hit me so hard. Is like, I don't think the people who accepted this, because it also came with a message from the brother who said, cherish every day and cherish every life because you never know when it will be extinguished. And again, I'm like, I don't think the people who accepted this realized how double-edged this gift was. This is both a gift and a condemnation. Like, we didn't deserve that kind of kindness after Hiroshima. And I recently found out, lo and behold, what we did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki was completely unnecessary because Japan was preparing to surrender. But if we had not taken the shot, Russia would have been given control of that front. Russia would have moved in, taken Japan for itself, and America can't possibly let Russia do that. So instead, we got to cripple Japan.
So the part of that issue was that Japan said, so Germany surrendered. Japan said, we will fight until we die. At which point, the U.S. decided to launch the new equipment that they had spent a bunch of money and time and research on. And although I think it was unnecessary because Japan was on its way out. Japan was getting ready to surrender because they didn't have a choice. Japan
was saying, we'll fight to the death, but Japan had already given the order to surrender.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that's what they said, and that's when they kind of looked at these new bombs and decided to kind of use them.
Which, I mean,
with a lot of opposition in the military because they were like, we don't need to do this. Yeah. This is extreme. This is like the last-ditch effort in order to save the world. We don't need to do that right now. Germany surrendered. The war is pretty much over. And so Japan was faltering, and we attacked 2 cities.
Yeah, filled with innocents.
Not bases, not military bases. Yeah.
That's
civilian
what I say.
Cities.
It is as close to the 9/11 it is as close as 9/11 will get to that.
Yeah.
Because it was the same concept. Complete and utter annihilation of innocence.
And I'll let you get, I just want to interject one last thing, is that Oppenheimer, one of the people who set up the bombs, and same thing Einstein, who worked on it. Oppenheimer in particular is famous for the quote, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Mm-hmm. And although that's a translation, although inaccurate, of, I believe, a Hindu book.
The Bhagavad Gita.
He lost his mind because when he saw what he did, when he saw what those bombs did, he was so distraught with what he had birthed.
I mean, isn't it the same story with the Nobel Peace Prize? The man responsible.
It was given to the man who made dynamite.
No, I thought it was the man who had invented dynamite and also invented the Nobel Peace Prize because he was so inflicted and conflicted with his invention that he wanted to represent and over-represent the things that were good. Isn't that the case?
So Nobel created TNT or dynamite, and so his brother had died, and they accidentally published in the newspaper his own obituary. So Alfred Nobel's brother died, and they published an obituary for Alfred Nobel, basically criticizing him and lambasting him for what he had done, and that's what spurred him.
He had accidentally seen. Oh, he got Twitter bombed. He accidentally had seen what people thought about him in the public sphere, and it had spurred him to do better because he didn't want his legacy to be so awful.
Right. Which, you know what? Fair.
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean, sometimes that's a wake-up call you need.
Not the worst reason to be better.
No, not the worst, but it's pretty close. If you want to commit to a change in yourself, it has to become a part of your identity. Mm-hmm. And then there's the cliche, be the change you want to see in the world, right? So if you want something to be changed on a grandiose scale, it has to be...
Then you have to want it for yourself as well.
You have to want it for yourself as well, yeah.
And I'm
there's also, I've always told people, at the very least, if you don't care about other people, care about yourself. Be selfishly selfless, because if you help other people, they will help you in return.
And you'll feel better. This is what I always say.
I don't even look at it like that. I just simply say, like, if you are that selfish, if you were that self-absorbed and you don't care what other people think and it doesn't give you any pleasure, what will help is that if you help other people, they'll help you and give you stuff in return. It'll help you out. So help other people, create a good society, because then you will have better equipment, things might be cheaper, people will say hi to you in the streets, whatever it is, but you will live a better life if you help other people, at the very least.
It's the philosophical problem of altruism. How can you truly be because the most common version of altruism is I help other people because it makes me feel good. Right. The most basic level of altruism. And that's how
I genuinely feel most people are.
Yeah, no, because of course, the majority of people that do things for other people, and if that's all that they do, like, oh, I only help others. It's a self-fulfilling sort of level of hedonism. Like, it's crazy how close altruism and hedonism are related on a philosophical level, because it's like, you do things for others. What's the reason? Is it for them? You don't know them. What do you owe them? Morally, what is the value of your actions, right? At every level, there is the option to be doing it for yourself, because you make yourself feel better, to absolve yourself of sin, to give yourself redemption for past transgressions. Pure altruism is a concept, because unless
it's an ideal, but it's not.
Except in like those rare scenarios where you are literally being harmed by the help you are giving. Unless you genuinely hate the fact that you're dying as a result of helping these people, and you're doing it for their sake, and you would rather have lived, but if you gather any sort of self-worth from that, that's no longer truest altruism or purest altruism, right? You have to be borderline a slave.
And honestly, we're not saying that's a bad thing. We're saying that's a normal thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you're the kind of side note, if you're the kind of person that needs to believe in true altruism, yourself. Like, it's don't kill yourself. Never kill yourself. What the fuck? Flutes everywhere. Oh my god! But
the amount of flute that's going on right now. Because I know I'm cutting this out.
I don't know how much you can do, but whatever. You do your best, and I appreciate you for that. It doesn't need to be perfect, Matt. But I've mentioned this before, probably because it's true. There's not a single day that goes by that I don't think about the options that I have when it comes to deciding to live my life the way that I continue to live my life. Not a single day. I wish that was untrue, but every day you wake up, you have a choice. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, getting ice cream is also an option. I don't think that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, if it's burning down...
Don't tempt
me. The past 8 minutes have been nothing but flutes.
All right, so we can just agree that that's not making it.
Burning is the closest you could get to perfect altruism, because nobody benefits from it.
Hey, yo, DJ Matt here, back with some nice flutes.
Betterment of all humanity. This one's getting cut out, Matt. This one's getting cut out.
You don't even need flutes. If we just somehow find a way to just cut to the next segment. I mean, Matt has cut himself. Matt has cut himself in, being like, "Hey, this is future Matt / Rhuminus here. There's a lot of things that we're not including in this episode. There's going to be some random jump cuts. That's normal because we are not letting some of the things. We have bad opinions. I don't remember what you said exactly, but you were like, we have bad opinions, and we're not including them.
I really would like to make a disclaimer for the show where it's like, we're not professional anythings. We're just three people who may or may not have good or bad or neutral takes.
We are three stooges with a microphone.
Don't take anything we say with anything more than a grain of salt, because all of it is just slice of our lives.
Isn't Greece just like near?
Don't say what you're about to say.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna find. I'll ask Matt. Geographically, where is Greece? What are the
Greece
four
is
major
basically in the
rest-
middle of Europe. It's near Germany.
So it's an Eastern European accent.
I would classify it
Mediterranean, my
as
bro.
Western.
But is it west of Germany?
It's next to Italy, my dude.
That's what I was gonna say first when you told me to stop talking. So that's what I was.
I thought you were gonna say, is it just basically reverse Italy?
No, I was
At
gonna
which
say.
point I was like, no, don't say
I
that
was,
to an
I was gonna say,
Italian.
isn't it just outside of Italy? So isn't it just gonna be like European accent mixed with Italian accent? Like, okay, but fine.
I mean,
won't say
it's still
that.
just Mediterranean accent.
I guess.
Thank you. Here, the reason that no one knows what a fucking Middle Eastern accent sounds like or a Greek accent sounds like
What are you
is
talking about?
because-
So that Greek
is because
Matt, hold
on.
is because
A Greek-
is because
a Greek accent is very similar to Italian. It's kind of floaty.
yeah, no, the reason is because
yeah.
no one gives a shit about that shit. That region of the world isn't funny enough to have a stereotypical accent.
Goodbye, Greece's GDP.
Well,
We'll be like,
yeah, we weren't gonna get anything from them anyway, unfortunately. So
That's what I
Greece,
said.
Greece, I love you. Trust me, I have a useless degree in Latin and classical education, but I understand that y'all are bankrupt. So
That's why I
keep your
said
money.
goodbye to their GDP. I knew we weren't getting jack shit.
Yeah.
We just made a drop war. We
Please
mentioned
keep your money, keep living life, but you got your own problems you got to worry about.
if you're
this is-
literally
this
in
is-
Greece listening to this, keep your money. It's okay. We'll be alright.
This is Nigel Blankstaff reporting for BBC One Business,
Oh,
and
thank
today we have just reported that
I thought he said do Greek, and I was like, not even.
that Greece was mentioned in an American podcast, and as a result, the value of the Greece lira question mark Matt
Oh, I thought
They
you
used
were
the EU,
they use the U they use the euro.
the euro.
Greece's value of the euro dipped 2.000001 cents. This is not to be confused with the rest of Europe and euro. That didn't drop, surprisingly. I don't know how I turned into a pseudo-Australian there.
I'm so glad.
I don't know what happened
No,
there.
I'm with Matt.
The lira
I'm
is
glad
Turkish, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm with Matt. I'm glad that you specified what entity you were calling from, because for a second I thought this was your best Greek interpretation. I was like, we're
No.
fucked.
I was definitely
Greek is
having
very floaty.
some douchey British
'Cause-
businessman talking
yeah.
about how the value of your
You-
Greece went
you-
down because of us. I know this is weird, but my most recent experience with true educational language was back when I took my first year at college. I flunked out because I genuinely am having a horrible
on
time
the one hand-
learning languages.
On the one hand, I fully support socialism. On the other hand, if you say one more time, I'm removing you from the podcast.
Well, no, so here's the thing. I wasn't learning because I want to go there.
I know.
Well, I wasn't learning because I want to go support the Communist Party. I was learning because there's a ton of fascinating stuff in but also the further north you go, you have to learn different dialect because pieces of Mongolia are present and they speak a different dialect. And I've always kind of wanted to go to Siberia and Mongolia. Side note, on my trip to New York, in the Oculus, we visited a Mongolian outfitters. All of their shit is imported from Mongolia. And there was a jacket there that was fucking stunning. $1,200.
Nah,
I
bro, I'm
was
good.
like,
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I don't need it.
I really want that. I really wanted that jacket, man. I
I absolutely
will
want it.
also-
I can't afford it.
If anybody listens to this and has $1,250, go spend it on some Mongolian clothing. You don't need some cheap jack shit from which also were in the Oculus.
And those are getting bleeped out. that Mongolian shop that is in there to stay.
You don't
Those
want
other
me
sushi-
cussing out and
Well, goodbye those dollars, but no, I'm not giving them free promotions. They get enough.
Well, that's why I said fuck those guys.
Yeah.
So while I was in class, my teacher was a native, and she said another big thing that gives not people away is smiling while you speak and interact. It is very, very socially unacceptable to smile at people you don't know. And they also don't speak with their hands a lot. If you move your hands a lot while you speak, it's very not like it's so weird. And again, listener, I've never been. This was my teacher's experience. If has changed, who am I kidding? Not gonna hear this.
We don't need to put goodbye dollars. We could just assume that was the case from the beginning.
We can just say goodbye. But we are not a political podcast that talks about the military strategies of other nations. If you want that, please find it somewhere
Just
fucking else.
contact us directly, and we will definitely go off on you about what we think.
We will definitely tell you that we
Come
did
join
not
the
ask you to do
Discord,
that.
at which point we can have all the discussions that you want.
Yeah, if you want to tell me how I'm a jack shit piece of shit that should support capitalism and all the ways that it helps the world grow, you know what? If you're paying me $50 a month, you get that tier reward. Just yell at Nick. Deion, make that a tier reward. Yell at Nick reward. That's a Patreon reward. If you want to pay us $50 a month, there will be an exclusive channel where you can just drag me.
And if you want, there's a
And
$100
I
tier
will
where
read-
you can join Nick and tell me how ugly I am.
And
He does that every day.
I will read one drag on the air every day. I'd be like, all right, this is a creative one.
Matthew,
Like, I am totally fine with that.
how much is the talk shit about Matt reward? Because the drag
There's
Nick,
$100.
it's $100. Okay, cool.
Yeah, drag Nick is 50. Only I and Deion are allowed to drag Matt. But if you pay us $100 a month, you get to drag Matt with us. Tell me what, like, I'll send you a picture. Give me your best roasts. And I will be like, all right, Matt, this is your roasting corner. Gonna have roast Matt instead of topics today. All roasting Matt, no pizza. Oh my goodness. Well, it's been a long episode. And by a long episode, I mean we're an hour and 7 minutes in, and we've definitely run the gambit on conversations.
We have a question.
I don't think I've asked this question yet, and Deion, I think this is actually your question, so I'm gonna give credit. I believe Deion asked this to me once, and I think I know what I answered. The question of the day is, if you could get rid of one bodily function and suffer no consequences as a result.
Where's that meme? Where's that meme I just posted?
I've told this to
I'm glad you asked.
single personal friend of mine. If you've known me for more than a year, I've told
Which is
this
why I want to
you.
give you credit, because this is a genius question. This can tell me a lot about a person. Because look, there are a lot of bodily functions. When you sit down and think about it, there are a shit ton of bodily functions. You can get nuanced with this. If digestion is not your thing, if you just want to eat something and the next moment it's just ready to go out the butt, and again, the stipulation is with no bodily consequences. If that's your thing, that's it. I fully understand. You have gastrointestinal issues and the process of digestion is not a fun thing for you.
If I had to get rid of a single bodily function with no consequence, if I could do it some other way, I would absolutely 1000% of the time get rid of the biological need to shit waste. You do not need to remove waste so violent. So pooping is dumb.
Oh my god, is that the name of the episode?
I don't think so.
Pooping is dumb.
We've had like 3 great stings in this one, but I'm
I
not.
think there are a ton more that are more relevant to the bulk of the episode, but it's just like,
There's no accounting for waste. I also really like.
no accounting for waste is really good. It's just like, you don't need to poop. There's got to be a way for species with such large brains to remove waste more efficiently. Like,
Well,
and the fact
I mean,
that your diet can so wildly vary the consistency of your
and
waste.
affect the poopy, yeah.
Yeah, like, what? All right, and I'm done with this topic in 5, 4.
Well, we haven't even gotten Matt's question answer.
Fine.
And mine.
Rewind.
Deion has spoken. That is the answer.
I have the only right answer.
No, you don't.
I have an answer that supersedes yours in all ways.
Okay, go for it.
But I'm gonna wait for Matt to tell me his.
So any bodily function whatsoever.
With no
I'm going to go ahead with sleep. I don't want to sleep anymore. I want to be awake. I want to do things.
That's the closest second I've ever, like, it's, if I could not need sleep. First of all, we don't even fully understand why we need sleep, so let's just cut it out, right?
No, but it will kill us if we don't do it. We don't know why. It overexerts our body.
Yeah.
As if, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. but
11
here we go.
days forced awake? Your body kills itself. What?
Well, after like 2 days, you start to hallucinate, which I've done before, and it's not fun.
Oh, yeah.
but-
Most
shit gets weird at the 48-hour mark.
48 hours, you
yeah.
haven't slept?
And it's not hallucinations like, oh, Bugs Bunny. No, it's like, holy, what was that? What was that shadow monster? What's going on?
What's crazy is if you do sleep, you hallucinate anyway. So what's going on?
Exactly.
No, I got the bodily function that tops it all. Because this is truly the most useless, most obnoxious, most awful bodily function that could possibly exist. And we all know why.
Yawning.
You say
No.
blinking and
Close.
Scratching. Itching.
Hiccup.
Ooh. Okay, so side tangent.
I almost puked last time, and I have done that before.
And I've had bad hiccups since like I remember distinctly this memory. I was like hiccuping, and I was like, I didn't know. I know now a few techniques that can straight up stop hiccups. It's crazy how easy it is to stop hiccup, but it's also crazy how painful they can be. So I'm like hiccuping, and I've had this happen before, where I was like, Miss Teacher Person, can I please get some water? I have really bad hiccups. And she's like, no, sit down. And I'm like, listen, if I don't stop my hiccups, my shoulder is going to dislocate. Now, my shoulder never really dislocated, but I would start to get such bad gas and pain that it would like migrate up my chest and to one side. It felt like I couldn't move my arm. And I thought that's what a dislocation was. So she let me go, but she was like, okay, whatever you say, dramatic student, like just go ahead and go. And I just felt mad and bad. Like I felt like I was lying, but she made me feel like she thought I was lying, but she was able to make me think that I was lying. And I was like,
to the point where the anxiety made your hiccups go away before you ever got the water.
No, my shoulder still hurt. I hiccuped the rest of class. And she was like, Deion, please just hold your breath or something. That she said that out loud.
And I'm like, bitch, that's not how it works. But so here's the thing. Hiccups, nobody needs them. Nobody wants them. Nobody cares about them. But this is the problem. They're so innocuous that right after we've had them, 9 times out of 10, we forget we forget we had them, and we forget that they were that bad.
I never forget.
No, but this is 9/11. Never forget. Also the hiccups or whatever.
I have a question.
That's the title.
That's not the title.
That is the title right there. That's the title right there.
And the hiccups, I guess.
Hiccups, never forget.
I have a question. How long, if you had a genie and you said, I wish that hiccups never happened ever again to any other human or animal on Earth, how long do you think it would take?
How long before anyone would notice?
Yes.
No one ever would. At
some point, someone somehow would have to notice that all of humanity stopped hiccuping. And I want to know how long do you think it would take? Someone would have like a gastroenterologist would have to notice.
Hey, that I just want Hiccups Anonymous. My name's Joe. I've had hiccups in 13 years. I don't understand. I'm getting concerned
because some people have like chronic hiccups. Some people or hiccups are like a part of their chronic condition. And if that symptom went away, I think that some people would notice overnight.
I think here's the thing.
I think the scientific community would take like 6 months to figure it out.
Well, hold on. Here's the first question. Is there a person who hasn't stopped hiccuping since the moment they started hiccuping?
I think there's a few, but I think I don't know. I remember like People Believe It or Not, that TV show. I believe at some point I saw a person with like a gastro condition where they just hiccuped forever. And they hiccuped in between every word. I don't know if that person still exists. I was like 8. The internet didn't exist in the same way that it did then. But I wonder if there is a person who's part of their gastric condition is that they just are constantly going and
so let's see. The New York Times posted an article in 2019 about a woman named Lisa Graves, 31, who hasn't stopped hiccuping for 12 years. Assuming she is still hiccuping to this day, she would be the first person to know. She would be the first person to know.
I legitimately would probably just...
Her doctor...
And I don't think she would question it.
Her
She'd
doctor would immediately believe her, and he would be like, something's wrong. You're gonna die.
So my conspiracy theory is that hiccups, and this is a light conspiracy theory. This isn't the government, whatever. This is a light conspiracy theory. I think that all humans, because you know how women, when they give birth, there's like a chemical that's released in their brain that makes them forget the pain they experience while giving birth.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know all about that.
All humans have the same chemical exclusively for hiccups.
So here's the wish. Here's the wish that you give, Nick, for the genie for the hiccups. I wish that every human that hasn't hiccuped in the past 5 minutes never hiccups again.
So there's just a huge.
There's a very small part of the population that hiccuped at the time when you made this request, or just finished hiccuping, and they keep hiccuping. But for the most part, anyone that's been hiccuping for a long period of time keeps hiccuping, and so we don't notice scientifically for like years that no one else has hiccuped except for this very small population of people, and
Yeah, exactly. No, like nobody would miss the hiccup. It's the one bodily function not a single human being even remotely wants.
I feel like everyone can relate to the fact that, like, I remember a few times in my life where I've had like a really bad cough, or like just really bad hiccups. Or for me personally, my biggest thing is I get migraines. I get really bad migraines. I've thought for sure that this was how I was gonna die. Like, you can feel it, or you can ignore them, like you guys do to me all the time. Like, you can, when someone's gonna cut you off, it's just like you can let it happen. Or you can't not let it happen when you're about to get a
Thanks
hiccup.
everybody for listening. We've been All Topics No Pizza.
I was waiting for that one.
Piece of shit.
You know what? You're the one person I'm not saving from hiccups.
Me,
Mr. 2.5. No, Matt.
okay.
Mr. 2.5 hours.
I will kill you. Thanks everybody for listening. We started with the stereotypical New York accent and ended up with nude Patreon tiers for ragging on Nick and me. And we, just like you guys, have no idea we got there either. We hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you next Thursday. If you want to support us, we have a Patreon page. And I, Rhuminus, upload to YouTube, and I've also published 2 books. You can support us that way as well, if you'd like.
Do their
I have a
interviews,
question.
all those
I have
things.
a question.
What's up?
I've been thinking about this. This is dumb, but it's like, how? You know what? Go ahead. You go. You finish. You finish first. Go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same thing. I think. Hang on. I'm about to lose it. Wow, that's fast.
We hear you, Pook.